Hey, Alex here with Harper. Today I'm sitting here with Jeff Darnton. We're going to talk about redirects today as part three of our web performance series. So just to start off, like real quick, what are redirects, Jeff?
Yeah, redirects are a way for a web server to say, hey, the web page that you're looking for, it isn't here. Go look over here and go find it there instead. It's a really simple way for that redirection to happen so that we could change URLs over time and people could still end up getting to the place we want them to go.
Awesome. So when we're thinking about like why that does this matter, like the brands today, why are they caring so much about redirects and why is this important?
In a modern e-commerce website, particularly as a brand evolves, there's going to be a variety of different uh, things that happen over time that are going to cause us to have to embrace redirects. One of those might be replatforming. We went from commerce solution A to commerce solution B, or we went from SKU naming convention A to SKU naming convention B. And all of our product URLs or the structure of our site changed. And as a result, now in order to get to the same product, I'm typing something different into the browser. I want to maintain the people that have the old link, as well as those search engines, which we're kind of talking in the context of SEO here, those search engines to make sure that they can find the new page that has the same content that they were used to. So as I restructure my site, I need to maintain the old URL pointing to the new URL, as well as I may do it for ease of access. You can look at some e-commerce and the URL for a t-shirt might be this long, right? And it's got a whole bunch of numbers and different things in there. And that's really unfriendly for end users. Search engines, yeah, they care a little bit, but not so much. The URL itself doesn't matter. It's more the content. But end users typing that huge thing in or looking at that result in the search engine, right? You can kind of see a preview of that URL. You want to go to, you know, retailer.com/hot deals rather than /12345 blah 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 blah. It's just more SEO friendly for the display there, not necessarily for the ranking, but for the click-through rate. So either you're doing it to make your site appear more friendly, or you're doing it to maintain those linkings over time because of whatever activity that may have occurred for you to change that URL structure.
Okay. So when we're looking at different types of use cases for them, like what types of redirects are there?
Yeah, so there's three different main ones, and it's a 301, a 302, and a 307, and they all have a different usage. But generally, when we're talking about we're talking about SEO here. We're talking about 301s and 302s, and a 301 is moved permanently. So it says you can never have to try this place again. Always go to this new place. Or a 302 would be moved temporarily, and it might be something that I'm redirecting for maintenance or for a sale or for a promotion or for a language redirect or something like that. So I would use the 301s and 302s depending on the type of redirect I want to do. If I give a search engine a 301, over time, they will forget about the old URL and they will replace it with the new URL. And that's really what we want to be doing to drive that SEO, keep that SEO ranking intact, right? If I had good SEO rankings on this old page, maybe it was a blog post and I changed again, I changed from content provider A to content provider B, but I had really good traction on this blog post that was driving stuff to my website. When I move it to the new URL, I don't want to lose that search history. So I would implement a 301, and the search engine knows that this content used to live over here. I tell it 301, it lives over here now. I get to maintain and preserve that search ranking because it's the same content just with a different URL. If I don't do that, then I have to start all over again. And this basically becomes a dead link and I lose all of that ranking and I've got to start over. So 301s are generally what we talk about with the search engine rankings. And that's a good way to maintain that. And contrary to popular belief, you don't get penalized for 301s. They're a good way to tell a search engine my content has moved. If you have too many of them and you have redirect chaining and a variety of different things, yeah, there are penalties that can come into play, but they're a good way to do it. So yes, 302s and 307s have a place, but most times we're talking about.
Okay. Okay. So there's a lot of redirect solutions on the market. Like this is not a new thing. Like, well, what is driving people to implement their own solution here or to kind of build their own thing? Is there something about scale that's coming in here, or what really are those factors?
Yeah, you nailed two things there. One, like redirects aren't cool. I mean, they're not the funnest part. They're not exciting. They're not the flashy part of your website, but they're the important part of the plumbing and wiring to make sure that everything still works good. So why do people care? Because there's a heck of a lot of them, right? I just said that if we had to re-platform our site, that every URL might change. If I have 10 million products, well, now I've got 10 million redirects, or hopefully less because I've got some sort of matching criteria or something like that. But that can be a lot. And if I think about a retailer that's been around 10, 15, 20, 30 years, they might have gone through 2 or 3 or 4 platforms. Or again, the SEO team is very active at trying to run promotions or coupon codes or whatever, and they want a lot of landing pages. This is also true a lot for like hotels and search, right? If our PLP page, or if I want to see what the hot deals are for New York today, and I want it to be /New York. So a lot of landing pages can get used there. And so this volume of redirects just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And so, yes, there are redirects. You can manage them with pretty much any, web server or origin-based technology. Something exists there. But the more and more you get, the bigger and bigger that file or that database becomes, the longer it may take to search through. And obviously then you're impacting performance. The second piece on performance there is where the redirect comes from. And so again, we've been talking consistently throughout the series about doing things at the edge, closer to the end user. And that's really, really important for redirects, because if the end user is looking for page A and they go all the way through to your origin and then say, sorry, that's not where you need to go. You need to go somewhere else. It's got to go all the way back. And then the request has to go back again to go get the actual page that they want. That takes time. And so if we can move that redirection closer to the end user and say, hey, I'm looking for this, it's not there, go here instead, we make less round trips and we save time there. So doing it at the edge, making sure that the lookups are in a performant way and easy to manage at scale. Those are kind of the 3 things that when we start to talk to retailers, those are the challenges they're finding with their traditional management.
That makes sense. So we talk a lot about performance, putting metrics to this. Like, how fast should that redirect return? Once that request comes to the redirect server, like, how long should we be waiting for that?
Yeah, and that's where we talked about, I mentioned that third one, the 307. Sometimes if you look in your browser, you'll actually see your browser do a 307 redirect, and it's actually redirecting itself on the browser. That's the fastest one, when we never had to leave the browser and we actually know where we're going right from there. So the ideal time is as little as possible. And the reason why is that redirects happen early on in the request to load that page. Because again, I haven't gotten any content yet. So I'm still waiting for any information to start to paint that page. So it ties into my time to first byte, which will then impact all of my key render metrics, including my core web vitals. So if I reduce the amount of time in my redirects, I get this automatic boost in all of the metrics that stack up there, because I've kind of primed the pump and taken time off of that front end of that transaction. And so that is where it ties through, and it's a relatively low impact way with potentially high return. If you can get 50, 60, 100 milliseconds improvement by moving your redirects from origin to the edge, why not do it? That's relatively inexpensive, relatively low effort, and you get this gain that flows through for your entire site for all your metrics. Like, that's a fantastic way to do it. So there's no like target time for it, because I think it depends. Ideally, we don't want to redirect at all. We want that first request to go right there, but we know that we might need to, and we want to do so as fast as possible.
Okay, so you did throw out some numbers there. Like, if you're having redirects that are in the hundreds of a millisecond or at 50 milliseconds to it, like that's a slow redirect system and should probably look to be improved.
Right, and that's just a speed of light problem again, and that's where the redirect is coming from, and potentially how many I'm doing. You could look at some of these. I said redirect chaining, where I might do 2 or 3 or 4 redirects. Again, that's just wasted round trips where we're sitting there trying to get directions to the next page. So managing redirects to make sure we don't have redirects chaining, making sure that we're in that as fast as possible by responding close to the edge. Those are things to look at. And again, that gets harder the more redirects you have, and the more teams that are interacting with them, and the more things that are getting created, and the more churn that's on the URLs on your site.
You bring up the idea of more teams here. Like, our companies are managing redirects across multiple different products, and like, is this something that should be combined?
Yeah, like redirects aren't a technical team management. Generally, this is going to be a marketing team or an SEO team or some sort of product team that's managing these redirects. The technical team is usually providing the solution for which to serve them, but we actually want to give those teams access to create and manage those so that the technical team doesn't have to be an intermediary there. You don't have to open a request with a dev team, or you don't have to file something with an SRE team to get changes to redirects. So that's where, again, a solution like Harper, you can give conditional access to it. You can build other tools on top of it for some internal, UI for your marketing team to use or whatever, something friendly for them to use. And you can actually enable those other teams to have that direct access to be able to leverage this, not just as something we have to do, but potentially something you want to use. Remember, I talked about those SEO friendly URLs. I could use them for promotions, whatever, /Cyber Monday deals, or, again, promotions for this week, or, whatever it may be. You could add a whole bunch more redirects on there that could help you out if a team is now enabled to use that.
Okay. So Harper, we have a redirect product. I feel like we're actually we're really solid in the redirect world. And why is that? Like, why are so many people flocking to Harper for the solution?
Right. And we talked about the pain points, right? So it's where do you do the redirects from? And obviously then with Harper, we can distribute those nodes to wherever they need to be. We're automatically replicating across that cluster. So wherever your end users are, we can push those redirects very close to them. And again, that could be concentrated in a particular region or distributed around the globe. So that's number one, is that distributed reach and responding at the edge. Number two, we talked about volume. So we have customers doing tens of millions of redirects with us. And that volume is something that we can look up in a performant way. We can store that in a cache temporarily if we need to, and we can respond in a performant manner as well. And then the third thing is ease of access and management. And because we have our built-in REST API layer, you can interact very easily with an API that you don't have to create. You can upload those redirects in a variety of different manners. We include a CSV upload. Right, so you may have some other tool that your marketing team is used to using, and they like uploading in a CSV. I mean, I don't want to see a 10 million line CSV, but it's the ability to be flexible in the way that your teams interact, and again, allow that conditional access. So those we hit check, check, check. That's really the way it goes, and it's one of those. Again, I can just kind of set it and forget it, offload those to the edge, make a very easy interaction, and get my performance gains. And I can move on to bigger and better things and not be worrying about managing redirects on a regular.
Let's see. So it's something we have to do, something that should be as quick as possible, as painless as possible. I think that's what we're delivering.
Exactly. 10 milliseconds here, 10 milliseconds there, 10 milliseconds there. Pretty soon it's a really big gain. All those things go to your core web vitals. All those things go to your search rankings. All those things go to driving more traffic to your website. So even though you may not think about them individually, the collective gains here from doing all the right things from an SEO, technical SEO perspective can really, have a big benefit for you in the end.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we were talked about early hints on this. We talked about pre-rendering just for bot traffic. And we'll have more topics coming up later as well. So thank you for tuning in today. And thanks, Jeff, for your time. And we'll catch you again on the next call.
All right. Thanks, Alex.